Today I want to talk and pitch the idea for a Valorant map builder. A lot of times when you guys watch my videos, you call my ideas maybe good, but sometimes crazy, like Riot would never do it. And till now, I'm always going to look back at the fact that a year ago, I made a video about rewards, and today we have a reward system. It's something I was pretty persistent on, and to be honest, if I think about it, it's a high chance that Riot's already thinking about it, and a map builder is something that I believe would be amazing. Now what you're watching is just some poor Photoshop skills, but it's because I want to pitch a preliminary round of map builder. I want to try to be realistic. I don't think Riot would just all of a sudden add complete full asset control CSGO level map builder where everything can just be customized from the ground up and remade, or like Fortnite creative mode level. No. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense in terms of Valorant, and definitely not in terms of a part 1 or something that would start early. Instead, a map builder tool for creatives and custom game either creators or players like myself. My main channel is Valorant Curios. All I do is custom games. Could simply be an overlaid tool that could be used on currently existing maps. So the example I'm giving here is, let's say I would select bind, and then I can just use a ton of assets that bind already has. It could be bushes that I could expand or decrease. Imagine hiding in bushes for hide and seek maps, or boxes. It could be the Radianite boxes, it could be any other sort of boxes, and then I could just stack these together to make a staircase or a parkour map, and that alone, simply that alone, will do a ton. Or the thumbnail example I have here, I actually designed it with a thought process in mind, a bunch of wacky different angles, like being able to get on this high little tower for this high, I don't know, it could be a tower defense game mode, or it could literally just be to play on a map that is super weird, super wacky, and definitely not competitive, but a ton of fun. Now, when it comes to Valorant, to be honest, there was a Valorant drought for a little while, and I even made fun of them, but they've come a long way from that drought. They've added new agents, they've added new maps, they've added the team deathmatch game mode with 3 new maps within those, just alone within the game mode. So they've come a long way, and then they added the reward system as a nice little overlay. They've went crazy when it comes to franchising and VCT. Valorant is literally popping off. And to be honest, this is not something that I think anyone would even want to be priority when we still don't have a replay mode, which definitely should be, with, like I said, the pro scene popping off. But even with all that, it's just a discussion to have within the custom game section. I am in a niche, right? Like custom games in general, like it or not, is a niche. Some people will play Valorant without ever touching a custom game unless they're practicing lineups. It's just a fact. Like a lot of people don't play it or don't mess with it, and it makes sense because it's something that needs organization, either a big group of friends or a channel like mine, in which, let's say you join the Discord, I make custom games and I have to organize everything. It's not something that's used simply. It's used in scrims or tournaments for sure, but when it comes to just wacky games, I'm already grateful for what we have. I mean, the fact we can do infinite respawns and vulnerability, mess with economy, mess with ultimates, put infinite abilities, all those stuff aren't a requirement. You know what I mean? They're not a requirement, but they're still in the game. And I think just taking it a step further would be amazing. Now, the setup of a custom map would be weird. Anything that's too server intensive is something that Riot kind of takes seriously. And I know this because I was lucky enough to interview workers at Riot. So when I used to talk to the art team, for example, I wanted stuff, or the community wanted stuff like attacker and defender sided maps. However, they said that means we'd have to load in 2 presets per player per team for every single game, and that could bog down the servers, and it's just something that they tread lightly on. So having a full map editor and then having to store those edited maps is also something that could be server intensive. And this is where my realism is going to continue. When I say preliminary, I really do mean it. What could happen is when you're in a map is when you can enter map editor mode. That's when a little UI will pop up and I can click, let's say bring up a box and then place it down, similar to the exact mechanic of a stage wall. The same way you can like rotate and place stuff, except they'll make it stackable. So imagine I can place a sage wall on top of a sage wall. That's the same idea. I click box, it comes out on my character like a little device or a little hand movement, and then I can organize it. You know what I mean? I can rotate it, I can place it, I can move it, and that's it. And that's it. Once the custom game's over, the assets reset. You don't even need to store them. That's how preliminary I'm talking, but it'll allow me to just do little things. Like imagine I'm in Breeze, like the footage you're watching, and I can just add a box staircase all the way up to the pillar at the top. Imagine just like a little staircase, and I just have to click the box, place, and then stack them, place, and stack them until I make a custom little staircase. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be overly complicated to start. The more assets they put, the more you can piece things together and the more fun you can have. And then once the match is over, the match is over. You know, the server resets and everything goes back to normal. They don't even have to store it on the Riot server side for now. And once you have a foundation, it's very much easy to build off of it later. But that's my idea for what we could see at the very start for a map builder, because Valorant is very much a growing game with a very dedicated community, both on the casual, competitive, and creative side. With that being said, though, I do understand that it's extremely hopeful, and especially hopeful because there's one thing that Valorant hasn't proven very well yet. I mentioned the fact that once there is a foundation, they will continue. And I was hoping this, especially in the reward system. We know the current reward system, right, is just 4 items. They rotate very slowly, and they're only like, they're basic cosmetics. You can't get any like battle pass skins, not even in a rare chance. And this is something I hoped about. I hoped like, okay, one day though, maybe they'll add battle pass skins, but they'll cost all 10,000 of your points or something. You know what I mean? And it'd be super rare, maybe a 1% chance. But the one problem is Riot hasn't innovated too much since the early days. We've seen some small stuff, for example, being able to unupgrade your skins after the entire Prime Karambit debacle. But another example is, for example, like you used to have to upgrade every single skin color to get the variant you want. You have to go variant 1, 2, 3, 4 in that order and spend all that Radianite, but they backpedaled. But that was very early. Ever since those 2 adjustments, we haven't seen too much addition to any base level system. At least nothing that I could remember to be game changing. The best example of this is, while again I'm very grateful, it would be the custom game mode. A lot of these things that we've had in the cheat menu have been there since very early on and never got any adjustments. For example, we can turn on infinite abilities, but we can't do it per side yet, which is pretty basic. It'd be great to give one side infinite abilities, but not the other. Or for example, we do have infinite money, but you can't do it to one team. Luckily, you can give credits per team, and you can change stuff like alt per team. So those are great. There's a little menu for that. But a lot of cheats can't be toggled individually. But then randomly some can. For example, you can have one person have invulnerability, but not the rest. It's weird. It's like there's kind of customization in it, but it feels a little bit incomplete. And we haven't seen anything upgraded since forever. It's not like they've slowly added stuff. So again, while I love preliminary stuff, and I call them preliminary stuff, we've also kind of seen them add systems and then not touch them since. But the game overall is still pretty new. I know it's like, what, 2-3 years old now, but that's still relatively new for Riot, right? Like League of Legends is well over a decade, and they added stuff like 7-8 years later. You know what I mean? They've added huge different changes 7 or 8 years later. They've completely revamped stuff in that game that if you were a player of League of Legends, you would be shocked. Like, there's something called the rune system. Just saying that, I'm not going to go into detail. People who know understand how much things can change in a game, even for Riot. So I got to stay hopeful, I got to stay creative, and I love making these discussions. Let me know what you think about my idea down below, and thank you for watching.